What's going on, guys? This is Travesty here. Apologies for this one. You might be looking at the face cam and going, oh, this sound doesn't line up. Unfortunately, OBS didn't update right before I played this battle, and it reset my mic settings so I wasn't picking up the right microphone, and so you can't hear a word I am saying in the live comm. So instead, this one's going to be post-commed. This is our battle against Necro Stevo. So he is an old friend from the OG PPL days, and he has a pretty spooky team with some big offensive threats like Meowscarada and Ogerpon Cornerstone. Quaquaval is a huge issue for our team, but Gouging Fire looks like he can put in a good amount of work, and Iron Treads as well. So we are bringing Sticky Webs, because while he does have reasonable spinners, think like Quaquaval and Avalog, Terra Avalog, I feel like I can handle those with my Araquanid, and that then allows everything else to outspeed. I've got a Speedy Hands, a Speedy Ursaluna. Gouging can just nuke things, and then yeah, we've got Spike's utility Ogerpon and Iron Treads to just kind of generally outspeed and hit things reasonably hard. So we see the team that he's bringing. A lot of the threats I'd mentioned, there's also an Arcalodon and a Primarina, which I kind of expected, as the main switch-ins into Blood Moon Ursaluna. So my dedicated lead is the Iron Hands, because I'm worried. I was originally going to just lead Araquanid, get up webs turn 1, because if he led like Meowscarada, that was fine, but in some of my self-mocks that I do for all my games, if he leads Ogerpon Cornerstone and just SD Trailblazers like turn 1, turn 2, we potentially just lose. So I was like, you know what? We'll lead Iron Hands, it puts good pressure on everything. We can pivot into the Araquanid later. We don't need webs up from the get-go. We still have things that outspeed a lot of his team without the webs, and then we can get the webs up to get things like the Blood Moon and the Iron Hands in with webs up to put on a lot of pressure then. But we don't need to get them up turn 1. So instead we're going to lead with the Iron Hands, we put some good pressure on something, and we get off a big hit before figuring out where to go from there. So we'll see what Necro decides to lead with. GLHF to him, and links will be in the description. He has one of the smoothest, silkiest voices you've ever heard, so definitely go check him out. He decides to lead with Quaquaval, which isn't great, but isn't bad. We will take a hit from this no matter what, but I also think that this is a great opportunity to get into my Araquanid, because like, if I was in his position, I would probably just click flip turn here, get some chip on the Iron Hands, because he probably doesn't want to stay in because he would live a hit and then Thunder Punch would just nuke this thing in return. And so I'm expecting him to switch out, and his most likely switch out is also probably the Palisand, because it's the only thing that would take my dual stab. And both, either he stays in and flip turns or he goes Palisand, are both fine for Araquanid to handle, because we are Water Absorb Araquanid just to completely block that Quaquaval from being able to do anything. So we get in with Araquanid here, our good shiny Muffai, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to get up Sticky Webs. This thing can't do a lot to me if I don't Terra. I am Terra Ghost, but he might stay in and Terra, but then that's fine, we get our webs up, and if he doesn't Terra, then he's risking a big Surf or a Liquidation. So he may also just switch, but he does decide to opt to get into the Terra Water, which is sort of what I expected. It means he can handle the Gouging Fire, so he can actually switch into it rather than, you know, risking switching it off level and taking half and then not really being able to handle it anymore. So we decide to just get our webs up, as he opts here to go for the Stealth Rock. So he just trades hazards. I'm not too bothered about Stealth Rocks. I do have spin on my Iron Treads. It's not great for gouging, but Hands, Blood Moon, once this thing terrors Ogerpon, like nothing is super hit by Stealth Rock outside of that gouging. And I do think there will be opportunities to spin, because he does not have a spin blocker now that he has terrored this. So I think here I'm tossing up whether to go hard into Blood Moon, if he decides to stay in and like Terra Blast or Chilling Water or something, or if I just get off an Infestation to get a little bit of chip on this thing and force it to stay in. I end up deciding to go for Infestation. in case he switches out into something like Trim Arena, and then we wouldn't necessarily want to be in with Blood Moon. But he actually decides to go into the Quavel here, and I'm like, this is what I was here for. This is what Araquanid was bought for. So I get my Infestation off. It does nothing. Fun fact, I'm actually the wrong nature on this Araquanid. I gen my team late at night and didn't check things. So I'm actually a minus special attack nature as a mono special attacking mon. But it doesn't really matter because Infestation is doing like 2 damage anyway. We are Endure Custap with Endeavor, but I also know that if I Terror, the best thing this thing has to hit me is Brave Bird. So I decided to just click Infestation again. He can't spin once I Terror Ghost, and he's now trapped, and he can't flip turn either because they're water absorbed. So I can basically just stall this thing out, and then he can't spin anymore, and webs are there to stay. Which also means if I get a spike off with Ogerpon, that's there to stay, and it's only if something is boots will it not just get absolutely murdered by those hazards. So he goes to the Aqua Step, obviously expecting us to be Water Bubble because that's the normal Araquanid set to bring, but we show the Water Absorb there, and at this point I'm pretty sure we get a big crit Infestation, by the way. Probably did 3 damage that time. But the chip damage is rocking up, so you see this thing is at about 70%. I have no reason not to just click Infestation again. I'm expecting him to show the Brave Bird, but if he's choice, we would just beat it. He has Brave Bird, it does about 1/3, but it also means that he takes a little bit more recoil. It just speeds up the process of stalling this thing out. Get another crit, man. At one point I did have Giga Drain on this set for this kind of scenario, but it still only does like 25% because we're not invested at all in special attacks. So if we get Infestation and Endure Custap was probably just a little bit safer. So we now brought him below half. I'm just kind of calcing to see what item he might be here. In case, you know, Infestation ends and he preserves this, it's useful information to have. But I have no reason not to just keep clicking Infestation here, because I'm pretty sure we're at higher HP than he is, so Endeavor wins. Get off the Infestation. We're just really slowly wearing this thing down. I kind of really wish I had Giga Drain, because then we would have killed this by now. We can have Araquanid. Here I decided to Endeavor because Brave Bird will bring us down quite low, and then an Endeavor plus Infestation should kill it, but he's actually too low HP for Endeavor to even work. So if we, and then he gets freed from Infestation, so I'm thinking he might switch out here, but he's not boots. We'll get him with a spike. I just click Infestation now anyway. It'll burn my Custap, which is annoying. If we clicked Infestation there, this thing would be dead, and we'd have a free turn to Custap, Endeavor, something else, which would have been really nice, but misplayed that one a little bit. But ultimately, this is what Araquanid was brought for. I didn't super need it for anything else. It's kind of nice for Meowscarada, but I have a gouging for that as well. And other than that, it doesn't do a lot into his team, other than just shutting this thing down and preventing the spin, which is exactly what it's done. So we get our Infestation off. The Quavel is going to live on the smallest amount of HP, but it is going to Brave Bird to take us out, and I'm pretty sure it dies to recoil there as well. So Araquanid goes down, but so does Quavel, and Araquanid did what it is designed to do. It got webs up. It got webs up and it traded with a Quavel, which was a huge threat if I let it get out of hand. Like, you look at my team and then you go Aqua Step, CC, Brave Bird, just does a lot of damage. So here, I believe I decided to go into the Iron Hands. Looks like I'm considering Treads to spin those rocks away immediately. The problem is if you go something like Primarina or Archaladon, we don't really want to spin against and give it a free stamina boost, and Meowscarada would do a lot to us as well. So I decided to just go Hands as a thing that can threaten the most of his team well. It sort of doesn't matter what he goes into, Hands can kind of handle it. He ends up going into the Ogerpon, so Treads would have been fantastic here, because we could spin to break the sturdy and then EQ to chip it down, and it can't do a ton of damage to us, unless it's running low kick, which it probably is, to be fair. But Hands is also pretty good here. I decided to go for the Ice Punch because if he stays in, I don't want to lower my defenses. Ice Punch will break the sturdy and bring it down really, really low so it's pretty much in range of anything. And there's a small chance that we get a freeze. Also, he could switch out. If he does switch out, he's probably going to go into Primarina, but then by not having our defenses lowered, we should be able to outspeed it and hit it with a Thunder Punch afterwards. So Ice Punch is kind of just the safe play here. His best switching is probably the Palisand, but then Thunder Punch will do a lot to it. And we'll just see what he decides to go for. So he ends up staying in and just clicking Power Whip. It does a good amount, but looks like it won't 2-hit KO from that range. We were EV'd, I think, to live 2 without the rocks, and then it would depend on the roll with rocks whether it would kill or not. So it looks like he got a high-ish roll on that one, which means that we might die to a second one. But he's now super, super low, so just getting up a spike or any chip damage on this thing, like any hit will kill it. So you can see me calculating the damage, trying to see if he's like adamant or anything like that, but it looks like it's just max attack Jolly. And I decided to switch in my own Ogerpon here, because he is at -1 speed, so we will outspeed no matter what, and we should be able to take a Power Whip or a Cudgel reasonably comfortably. Cudgel will proc our Citrus, and then we get that, we recover back up anyway. But he decides to switch out, preserving the Ogerpon on really, really low health, and he goes into the Palisand, obviously expecting another Ice Punch. If he had just gone for like CC to mix things up there, or Thunder Punch, because that would have taken out Ogerpon from the range it's at, this Palisand would have taken a ton of damage, but being in with Ogerpon is also fine against a Terra Water Palisand. Here, I'm pretty sure he's going to switch, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be into the Archaludon. And so I decided to just get my Spike up because that kills the Cornerstone on switch in, and it gives me good chip on everything else that keeps pivoting in and out. So it'll chip this thing down. Everything else in his team is grounded. Like everything on his team is grounded. So Spikes just gives me good consistent chip, which kind of offsets, or at least evens up the rocks that he's been able to get up. And I still have chances to spin, whereas he does not. But I figure there's no way you're staying in here because like a max attack Cudgel would do so much, and you need this thing at good HP to handle gouging, and probably it looks like his main switch into the Iron Hand as well. We decided he does want to stay in, probably expecting a U-turn, but I do get up the Spike there, which means that Ogerpon is dead no matter what. He goes for Shadow Ball, but it doesn't do a lot to this Ogerpon. So here I'm like, well, I can just Horn Leech back this HP. But after seeing how much damage that did, surely this time there's no way you stay in, because you know that I'm a pretty bulky Ogerpon. So I'm pretty sure here I click U-turn. I'm thinking about the second layer of spikes, but you know, each layer gets you less than the previous. Like I only get 6% from the second layer of spikes, so I get 12% from the first layer. So I don't think the second layer is particularly worth it, whereas if I U-turn here and he goes into Archaludon, I can then get in Blood Moon for free. And Specs Blood Moon just kills everything on his team. He does go into the Archaludon here. My other option there was to knock off as a kind of middle ground, but I figured I'd rather U-turn anyway, because we're going to give this thing a stamina boost, and I don't really want to have to switch into it. So it is stamina. We get a paltry amount of chip with the U-turn, but we see that it's not boots, and that means that Ursaluna will outspeed no matter what, unless it's scarfed, but if it's scarfed then it can't kill us. I'm pretty sure. It might be able to, I don't know. I just figured it probably wasn't scarfed, but I'm just going to go into Blood Moon here and click Earth Power and basically force him to pick a sack. He does have the Ogerpon, which he can sack, but anything else, like Meowscarada switches in, it takes like 60% from the Specs Earth Power. And if I click Hyper Voice, then it just dies. So he does reveal to be lefties here, which is good. Means we know we outspeed. And we've got a little bit of chip on this thing from the spikes, so I am just going to click Earth Power. It'll OHKO even a Max Spadef AV Archaludon from this range, because Blood Moon is just so stupid. Such an insane mon. And we know he's not AV because he's leftovers, so even if he's Max Spadef, this will kill. If he goes into Meowscarada, we would live a hit from it at this range, and 2 Earth Powers would kill if we decided to risk that. And yeah, basically I'm like, pick him on, it's gonna die. I get the Pokemon advantage here. I've already got the Hazards advantage. I'm feeling like I'm in a really good spot. So we'll see what he decides to do in response to this. He ends up switching out the Archaludon, and you'll see here he decides to sack the Ogerpon Cornerstone, which I think was the best play for him to make. It was going to die to Hazards no matter what, so sacking it on a big threat like the Ursaluna definitely makes sense. So that's a kill for Ogerpon there. Sadly, Blood Moon doesn't get killed. It's been one of our MVPs this season, so I was kind of hoping Blood Moon would get like 2 or 3 this game to pump its stats up, but you know, it is what it is. And then after he sacks the Ogerpon, you will see he decides to go into the Meowscarada, Carlotta the Unrivaled, which is, I love the little ribbon mark things that they introduce. I just don't know how to gen them because I can't be bothered looking it up, but it could be fun. So here I do calc that I'm pretty sure I live an unboosted triple axle, but I wouldn't live if it was like banded. And so I thought this thing might be boots, just in case of the webs, but it's not. If it was boots, I think I would almost just stay in, because after it changes type, Earth Power just kills, and then we can just freely click Hyper Voice into everything after this, and we would outspeed everything else on his team. But because it had revealed to not be boots, I'm not sure what it might want to go for, and I decided that actually sacking hands is going to be my best play. Because if he does triple axle, then I can get in gouging and start putting on pressure with that into like the Palisand or the Primarina, or I can just go into my Treads or my Ogerpon and outspeed. So I decided to go into hands here, letting it die to a triple axle. I think an unboosted triple axle would kill if it got all 3 hits, but you know, if he misses, then that's good as well. Take a little bit of Rock's Chip, and then we see he actually goes for knockoff. And that does a good amount of damage, but another one won't kill us from that range. And that looks to be like a boosted knockoff from the calcs. It's either like banded or black glasses. So he could switch up his moves here. We would die to like a triple axle if he switches moves. But now that he's a dark type, I can pretty freely go into like Ogerpon, and if he does switch moves, then I can go back into my Blood Moon, and you won't get the stab on triple axle, and we can nuke it from there. So I decided I'm just going to stay in. I was sacking hands anyway. Knockoff just kind of works out better for us. I'm just going to click Close Combat, because if he does switch in the Primarina, we do a good chunk of damage. If he switches in the Palisand, we do it a good chunk of damage, and both those we can finish off with a Thunder Punch afterwards. And if this thing stays in and decides to knock off, or if it misses a triple axle, then we'll just kill it. He does switch out, which leads me to think he is banded. That was kind of the set I expected, because banded triple axle just does a lot into my team. And we do see the Palisand, so this thing will take webs, take spikes, gets worn down, and then we go for close combat. And that brings him down below half, which means that a Thunder Punch will kill from here, unless it's like Wakan Berry. But he does reveal to be Rocky Helmet, which means unfortunately Iron Hands will go down to a second hit. But I don't really have a reason not to click Thunder Punch here. If he goes Archaludon, we outspeed it the following turn and can just CC. If he goes Primarina or... yeah, nothing wanted to switch into that. So we end up just taking out the Palisand. And we have another double down. So Iron Hands has put in a good amount of work. It's just put good offensive pressure on things, and it ended up taking down this Palisand as well. It basically killed the Ogerpon Cornerstone, so Iron Hands doing Iron Hands things. And here, I end up deciding to go into my Treads so that I can get that spin off. Because if Primarina comes in, we do have the Supercell Slam for it. That he no longer has a switch into. If Archaludon comes in, we have the EQ. If Meowscarada comes in, we have the Ice Spinner. So it just hits everything left on his team really, really well. And then we can always get that spin off as well if we want to. So I do bring in the Iron Treads, and we see that he decides to go into Primarina. Now, because we are AV, I will take a hit. I won't love taking a hit, but I would. unless, I think even if it's like modest specs, I think we take it. I'm not sure on that actually, but either way, if it's modest specs, then I'm pretty sure Supercell just kills, and if it's bulky, then it can't kill us with like Surf. So I'm pretty sure here I just decide to stay in and click Supercell Slam. I'm thinking about switching into the Ogerpon, because if he does go for a water type move, it'll probably just bring us down to where our citrus procs, and we can go from there. But we'll see I decide to just lock the Supercell, because yeah, if this thing is offensive, it'll just kill, and if it's bulky, then it can't kill us. So as long as we don't miss, which is always the thing with running this kind of 99% accurate moves, then we'll be in a good spot. I opted for Supercell over Wild Charge just because I didn't want to take the recoil, so we do land the Supercell Slam, and you see that does so much damage, showing that this thing does actually have a decent amount of bulk investment, like at least HP investment, and it does get the Citrus Berry. So he decides to just go for the Surf there, and you see that it actually doesn't do a ton, probably because it was taken out of Torrent range. A Torrent boosted one would have gone really close to KOing there. But the Citrus takes it out of Torrent and brings it to basically 40%. So I decided to just lock Earthquake here, because it looks like it should be in range even if it's max HP. And he switches in the Archaladon, which is not going to appreciate this. After another round of spikes, EQ might just kill. Whereas I think if I supercelled into EQ, then with the stamina boost it probably wouldn't have killed. It does bring him down low to the point where another EQ would kill, so I think supercell into EQ would not have, because of the stamina boost there. So you see he's at 25%. There's no way even at +1 he lives this. We know he's on sugar, we've seen the leftovers, so I just click EQ again because he doesn't really have a switch in, and down goes the Archaladon. So we're looking in a really good spot here. It's 4v2, Primarina is low, Meowscarada is probably banded, and we do outspeed it with Gouging, Ogerpon, and Iron Treads because of the webs. So, and we have Vacuum Wave on Blood Moon. So I think this is basically game here. I don't think there's an out for him because we don't need to crit any hits and we just clean up. He decides to go into the Primarina. My play is the same as before. EQ should take this thing out, so I decided to just go for it. I think I'm double checking it, even if it's max fizz death, this will just kill. Yeah, I have no reason not to. No, I have no reason to risk the Supercell Slam again. We are able to take out the Primarina, and now it's just a Meowscarada, probably banded Meowscarada against the world. If it does have Sucker Punch, we'll just go into like Gouging afterwards and kill it. We'll live one. And so here I just click Ice Spinner. After 2 rounds of spikes, that should always KO. And he does not reveal the Sucker Punch, and Ice Spinner is able to take out the Meowscarada, and we claim a clean 4-0 victory with Iron Treads just cleaning up at the end there. So yeah, that was a really strong game. I think my game plan was really good, to be honest. I think getting the hazards up, taking down the Cookwavel, and then just having my wall breakers do their thing was just a hard spot for Necro to navigate. So like I said, his links will be in the description if you want to go check him out. We claim another victory in stage 2, so we're looking good to try and make that top bracket once again, but obviously there's always more games to be won. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.